April Fools thought I was gonna do a random thoughts video, even though this channel has not known any videos for a year. Nope, the video is just gonna be Rowan and dance for this video. Gotcha. Ha! April Fools again! I'm taking the rest of the video as time to talk about why I love Inuyasha, cause it's his birthday today. Hey, if you said April Fools after the first one, doesn't that become a double negative, and that means this isn't an April Fools video? On to the Wonders of Inuyasha! The first volume of a shonen manga titled Inuyasha, written and illustrated by Rumiko Takahashi, debuted November 13th, 1996. It started with a schoolgirl named Kagome from Tokyo falling into her family well and transported to an older period of Japan. Bewildered at where she is, she comes across a half-demon Inuyasha, chilling, being pinned on a tree. Some things happen. A scuffle starts over a jewel called the Shikon Jewel, and after it shatters into many, many pieces, Kagome and Inuyasha begin their journey to find all the shards before the dastardly evil demon Naraku, cause if he gets it, bad things will happen. If you were around before the early 2000s and were into the manga / anime scene like me, you've probably heard about it. I probably don't need to talk about the plot any more than I already have, and if you haven't heard about the series, I don't know, look into it. I'm not going to proud off the history of it, but I'm not going to force you to be into it too either. This is just me talking about why I like it. I can't remember how I found out about the series exactly, but I do remember seeing it on TV, staring in awe as I watched the group, yes, they get analyzed later, continue on their perilous adventure, fighting through demons and escaping danger. I was mesmerized. I remember wanting to read the manga and try to catch any episode of the anime that premiered, but being a kid that had no money and no clear territory to the TV made it difficult. But I managed, seeing as I had friends in school who also gushed over the series like I did. I remember the movies and managing to get 2 of them out of the however many that came out. I find out it's 4 movies. One of the movies I had started with a naked lady. That was terrifying for a child who had strict parents. This series was held dear to me. I remember Inuyasha and Kagome and Kikyo, and I remember the other characters too, especially Sesshomaru. Oh man, younger me had a crush. But other than being engulfed by the fantasy setting and the mounting excitement I had over it, the main reason why I look back at the series from time to time was because it was the first series that made me interested and got me to really think and start on making comics. I mean, I was already making comics before I found out about the series, but it solidified my love for making them. Thinking on it now, it's also the reason why I cringe when looking at Inuyasha nowadays. It reminded me of the comic series I did back in grade 5. Okay, so I was enthralled by Inuyasha. I love the idea of making my own comic of it. My 5th grader brain had ideas, and those ideas needed out, and they were gonna get out whether I was ready or not. Basically, it was fanfiction in comic form. Around this time of my development, I was already praised by others for my lovely art skills. So I rolled my sleeves up, took out loose leaf paper, and sharpened my pencil, and away I went. I would make pages before class and during lunch and be the distracted child I was notorious for with my teacher and work on the pages during class. That got me in trouble a few times, but it did not deter me from working so hard on this book. Finally, after some time, I wager maybe 2-3 weeks, I was done with my first Inuyasha comic. The only problem I had now was actually showing this to someone else. I was a really self-conscious kid. As much as the adults and other kids liked my art, this was a piece of work I poured my heart into. I couldn't just show it to anybody. I already planned on showing it to my best friend and see how she felt about it, but then thoughts went through my head, making me nervous the more I thought about it. I was mortified at the thought that she wouldn't like it and that I'd have to rethink even wanting to continue to start it, since I decided to make a cliffhanger ending to this comic. If she didn't like it, I'd roll my sleeves up again and do something else, cause how dare I make a comic of a great series like Inuyasha and insult the piece of work that it is. I had begun to make a plan B. That was until my best friend gave back my comic. And her reaction? Oh, it made all my worries melt away and brought the biggest smile on my face. She was intrigued, delighted, amazed even at this comic that I made. She was asking questions and smiling and already wondering when I was gonna make the next comic. I was so happy that someone else wanted me to continue this little project I started. So I began work on the next comic. Weeks passed, the next one was out, and my best friend was even more excited and already making grabby hands at me so I can give her the comic. Next thing I know, I was thinking of how to make my story, what to make Kagome and Yasha do in the next book. You'd think I'd get annoyed at her asking once again, is the next part done yet? And I have to tell you, I was more annoyed at the fact that I couldn't get it done sooner so I could share the experience with my friend on reading my comic. She would tease me for always making a cliffhanger ending, and even years later, I'd gotten bugged in high school at the habit of cliffhangers still being strong on my comics. But by high school, I wasn't making Inuyasha comics anymore. I was busy making stories for my own characters. See, I would cringe from looking at Inuyasha on Netflix and remembering how embarrassing it was as a kid, with me now being older and having a sense in story and knowing better now not to outright plagiarize plot points from other media. But after mentioning it to my partner, he said I really shouldn't feel ashamed of my beginnings. My tastes might be different now, but Inuyasha as a series was something important to me back then. Even though looking back on it now, maybe a kid should have been into it. What with the amount of blood I added to my comics and the greasing amount of blood I wasn't afraid to draw as I grew into my high school self. But hey, even then it sparked that passion of comic making. I'll remember staying awake till the wee hours of the night to watch an episode of the anime while everyone else was asleep. The sleepover with my best friend to watch an Inuyasha movie. That's my fave memory, by the way, because that was the time Mum went all out on our sleepover, letting us buy whatever treats we wanted for an evening of movie watching and late night giggling. I'll remember being in school and talking about the latest episode of my group of friends and being in a bookstore to find the manga and take a quick read through until we had to leave. And best, and maybe worst of all, you can't change how I feel about it. I'll remember drawing out my comic, being happy that someone else is reading it and excited to see how the story went and how it'll eventually end. Inuyasha was the gateway into manga and anime, and opened up so much more to me. And it started my dive into drawing comics, which at the time of writing this script, something I direly needed to get back into. I haven't drawn a comic in so long. Inuyasha, thanks for being there for me. Happy birthday.